Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Blissful Literati, where today we are going to discuss the basics of voice change. Well, this will be a series of lecture sessions just like narration change, and so it is better to sit prepared with copy and pen. Pause, rewind, play, take notes to make the best of this video, and I hope by the end of this session you will know not only how to change voice but also how to change the voice of assertive sentences in different tense and aspects. Statutory warning: those of you who are here for a lesson in ventriloquism, take your leave now. We are not talking about that kind of voice change. We are talking about the grammatical voice change, and voice in grammar is a basic verb form. We observe this particular verb form in transitive verbs only. Transitive verbs, those verbs which come with an object. Basically, uh, voice change or any particular voice of a verb indicate the relationship between the various parts in any narrative event, that is the parts which are subject or object, and the action whatever is happening in that event. So remember that voice in grammar indicates a form of verb that indicates the relation between the participants in any narrative event by fixing the focus on either subject or object. And along with this, do remember that this form of verb is observed mostly, mainly, and perhaps, as we will see, only in transitive verbs. So now, as you can see that the focus is being fixed on either subject or object. And those of you who already know about this perhaps have noticed that I used passive voice just now. Anyway, we will go back to passive voice, active voice, these things afterwards. But first, let's deal with the definitions, the basic terms before we move into the meatier part. So, what is active voice? You see, active voice, when we use the verb in such a form that the focus is pinned on the subject, the actor, whoever is doing something, whoever is actually acting in a sentence in any narrative event, when we pin the focus on that, we use the active form of the verb, active voice of the verb. So we can say that active voice, the verb in active voice form, fixes the focus on the subject or the agent or the doer of the action in any narrative event. So, whoever does something, we are focused on that person. Our attention is on the actor, on the person, on the people, whoever is doing something, right? So, that is active voice. For example, I do this, I do that. So, whatever is being done, that is not the focus, but whoever is doing that thing, that is the main part. So, I take tea, the focus is on me, I am taking the tea. But he takes tea, Ram takes tea, you take tea. So, the focus shifts from me to Ram to you. So, active voice, the focus is fixed or pinned on the actor. So, for example, I take tea. Now, as you can understand, we have already guessed, and I think rightly so, that passive voice would mean the opposite thing. That is, the focus will go on to the object, the receiver of the action. So, you see, you have to understand the concept of transitive verb to understand voice change. So, a brief um, idea about this would go like this, that whenever we are in a narrative event, whenever we are in a sentence, there is some action being done. Now sometimes this action is just there, it doesn't the effect of it is not converted, is not transited to something else, to anything else. For example, the sky is blue, Now, in this case, there is a action, there is an event, the sky being the color blue, but this action, the effect, the result, or whatever you can think of, it is not converted or transited to something else, somebody else, but Ram marries Sita. In this case, the action of the marriage which Ram does is transmitted to Sita. So there is a receiver of the fruits of this action. So whenever we have this receiver, right? Whenever we have this receiver of the fruits of any action, anything it can be, we call it transitive verb. Now, for example, I take tea. In this case, there is this action of taking something, right? Now, I take, what do I take? I take tea. So there is an object. The effect is transmitted to tea. Tea is being taken. So passive voice pins the focus on this object of a sentence. So you can understand, right, that if there is no object in a sentence, in any given sentence, if there is no object, we cannot make it into passive. Now, that is not entirely true, right? Because there is a loophole. Huh. There is a loophole where we can even make sentences with no object into kind of a passive voice, but we will go to that afterwards. Right now, just remember this: we use passive voice to fix the focus of the sentence on the object, right? So the verb in the passive voice fixes the focus on the object or the receiver of the action or the action itself. So you see, the effect is becoming more important. The object is becoming even more important. For example, tea is taken by me. So what is taken? That is important. Tea, water, something else, that is more important. Who is taking? That is secondary. So now let's have a diagrammatic expression of these ideas. So we have the basic sentence, I take tea, in active voice, and tea is taken by me, which is yes, passive voice. Now let us understand the various elements in this particular sentence. Right, the first one, I take tea. So what are the basic parts? Three words are there. So the first word is I, which is the subject in this sentence. Then we have take, which is, yes, this is the verb in the sentence, and obviously you have rightly guessed that T therefore is the object. So now we have a basic sentence structure. A basic sentence structure where we have the bare minimum subject, verb, and object. There can be various other parts, but they have the minimum role to play in voice change. These are the main parts which play the maximum role, the most important role in any voice change. How? Let's see that. So you see the subject I. Whenever we change voice, this subject transforms. It becomes something else. It becomes me. What is me? I becomes me. Me is basically the object. So the subject I becomes the object me. Similarly, you, she, we, all the pronouns will take their respective objective case. This is subjective case I, and me is the objective case. So, yes, all the subjects will take their respective object form. Now, when we have any name of a person or some object, it is not so difficult because the name remains same. But when we are using pronouns, second person also not so much problematic, but first person, third person pronouns, when we're using these things, then the objective case becomes different from the subjective case, and we need to pay extra attention that we are using the exact objective case form of the subject. More on that will come afterwards. For now, let's talk about this conversion. So I becomes me. T, as I said, it is a name, object. It becomes the subject. T doesn't change. Name doesn't change. So T remains T, but it comes to the subject position, that is at the beginning of a sentence. and then remains only the verb take, which becomes is taken. And this is the verb, yes, but in the passive form. So is taken, the verb is take, is taken. This is the passive form of the verb. So again, verb is just verb. There is no active verb, there is no passive verb. There is the active form of a verb and the passive form of a verb. All transitive verbs can have their active form and their passive form. And again, if you have followed the discussion on transitive verb and intransitive verb on this channel, you know that there is no verb which is always eternally transitive or intransitive. Each and every verb can act in a transitive way or in an intransitive manner. So yes, these are not fixed forms. These are all fluid. It can change accordingly as per the sentence. So here we have basically the basic three ideas. Subject becomes object, object becomes subject. The third form of the verb is used, and as you can see, one is added. So what are these changes? What are the basic rules that we need to follow when we are changing voice? Let's come to that point. So the basic conversion rules from active voice to passive voice. Again, verb that is used in an active way and verbs that becomes passive, right? So first of all, subject becomes object and object becomes subject, and the shift from subject to object is complete. It is not just there is a one word at the beginning of a sentence which is subject, you just pick it up and put it at the end of a sentence to make it object because it is sitting in the object position. No, when we say that subject becomes object, there is a complete transformation which includes all the necessary changes that comes when you change a pronoun from subject to object. Similarly, from object to subject, this conversion comes. We will have a table of that also, but anyway, afterwards. Then we have second rule, which is be verb is needed. Even in this sentence, see the twist. Subject becomes object and object becomes subject. This is in active voice because you see the becomes, the verb is used in an active manner. But in the second rule, be verb is needed. Here the verb needed is used in a passive way because you see we are using this be verb is, right? We are using one be verb in this sentence, so it is the sentence itself is self-explanatory. We are using a be verb to make it passive. So what are the be verbs? I am sure that you know all the be verbs, but just to jog your memory, here is a short list of the be verbs. Am, is, are, was, were, be, being, been, and all these forms will be used when we make this conversion from active voice to passive voice. Where and how, we will come to that shortly. But right now, we need to understand the third and the last rule in normal basic conversion. That is, the third form of the main verb or action verb is used. The main verb, need, in this second rule, need. In this third rule, use. We are using the third form of the main verb, used, needed, be verb, is in either case. So these are the basic conversion rules. Now, let's have the a tabular form of how these rules work in various tenses. So let's have that first. Tense conversion rules. Remember, these conversion rule works not only for assertive sentences but also for any kind of sentences. But yes, they will use their unique getup. Like the example, we can have the example of Android. Stock Android. This is what we have before us is stock Android. And when we use different kind of sentences like interrogative sentences, imperative sentences, okay, we will go through all the sentence types, but they are like the custom skin that various companies use, like Oxygen OS, Samsung's own OS, which they implant on the stock Android. So this is the core. This conversion rule They form the core part of the tense change. But when we do assertive sentence, these will be used in one way. When we do interrogative sentence, this will come again in a different way, and with imperative sentence, again in a different manner. So the basic core concept will remain the same. And what is that? Simple present tense. Active, we use only the first form of the verb. There is nothing extra, only the first form of the verb. But when we use the same verb in a passive manner, we add the be verbs am for first person singular number, is for third person singular number, and are for anything and everything else, along with the third form of the main verb. When you are using present continuous tense, then obviously you know the formula subject plus am is are plus verb ing. So am is are plus verb ing is the active form of the verb. But if we use the verb in a passive way, we keep am is are, right? But we add being, being, we add that. And then we use the third form of the verb. So be verb is used, that is being, being. Third form of the verb is used, the third form is coming at the end. Similarly, if you use present perfect tense, has, have, then the third form of the verb. Now you may wonder that we are using has or have, there is no be verb here, and we are already using third form of the verb, right? But why bother? Just follow the rule. Has, have, just as it is, has, have will be there. That is, third person singular number has, anything else have. What we will do, we will add the be verb been, B-E-E-N in this case. So remember, with continuous tense, we are using being, B-E-I-N-G, and perfect tense, we are using been, B-E-E-N, and obviously the third form of the verb. The same set applies with simple past tense. Here we are using the second form of the verb, which is the past form. And when we are making it passive, when we are using the same verb in a passive way, we are bringing the be verbs was or were, and then the third form of the main verb. Continuous tense, we are simply adding being along with was or were, which is already present, and the third form of the verb. Similarly, with perfect tense, we use been, B-E-E-N, along with had, which is already there. Now, one thing to note is that passive voice has no form in perfect continuous tense. Right? Whatever be the tense, this perfect continuous aspect, that doesn't change. So all these charts, as you can find, we are having only three forms. And when we come to simple future tense, one form is even lessened. There is only simple future and future perfect. Because you see, be verb is used in the passive voice. So continuous tense, shall be doing this, cannot have any passive form. So shall or will with the first form of the verb take be in between, just as the future perfect tense takes been with the have, and then the third form of the verb. Now the modal verb is really interesting because you see after modal verbs we use the actual form of the verb, the infinitive form of the verb. So can, may, must, ought to, whatever be the modal verbs, we will use be verb in its be form, be, no other variation. And then we will add the third form of the verb. I'm sure that this is all hectic in your mind. It is all muddling up, but don't worry because now we will have the same thing, but with verbs, actual verbs, and we will see how it works. So let's have the tense conversion with this verb to keep. I keep it, you keep it, he keeps it, they keep it. So keep, we are going to use this verb, keep verb, to understand how the tense conversion works. So let's see. Keep becomes am kept, is kept, or are kept in passive voice. Similarly, am keeping, I am keeping, he is keeping, they are keeping becomes I am being kept, he is being kept, they are being kept, right? Has or have kept becomes I It has been kept. They have been kept, right? Past tense, kept becomes was kept. I was kept there. Was or were keeping becomes was or were being kept. Just like had kept becomes had been kept. Similarly, shall or will keep becomes shall be kept or will be kept. And shall or will have kept becomes shall have been kept or will have been kept, depending on the person. First person, one; second person, third person, another. Modal verbs can, keep, may keep, or must keep, or any other modals then keep becomes can be kept, may be kept, must be kept, ought to be kept, or whatever modal verbs you are using, right? So might be kept, whatever you are using. So that's how the tense conversion changes. But I assume that you are still having some problem, right? Obviously, until and unless we are doing this conversion with actual sentences, it is not complete. Whatever rules, whatever formula we use, until and unless we see these things actual in actual action, right? In actual sentence, it is very difficult to keep these abstract ideas in our mind. So let's now have some sentences. Basically, we are going to use only one sentence, but in various tense and aspects to understand how assertive sentences are changed in, right, like from active voice to passive voice. So let's have that. First, let's have present tense. Simple present, I take tea. In passive, it becomes, we have already done this, tea is taken by me. So take is the verb, first form of the verb, is taken, taken is third form, and is the be verb used. In continuous tense, I am taking tea. You see, I comes always with am, but T, third person singular, it takes the be verb is, subject verb agreement, is, and then being. Being is the actual be verb. Is here is equivalent to am. In place of am, we are using is. But being is the be verb we are including, we're bringing in passive voice. Taken, third form of the verb. I have taken tea in perfect becomes tea has been taken by me. Third person singular, therefore tea has. Subject verb agreement. Be verb is the been, B double E and been element here, and the third form of the verb taken. In past tense, simple past, I took tea becomes tea was taken by me. The fun part is when we are doing voice change of past tense, we don't need to worry about the various verb forms because it is always was or were. There is no am, is, three kind of variation is not there. Only was with singular, were with plural. Similarly, had, singular, plural, whatever be the person, first person, second person, third person, had remains had. No worry about that. Continuous tense, I was taking tea becomes tea was being taken by me. So we are bringing in being, the be verb, and taken, the third form of the verb. I had taken tea becomes tea had been taken by me. In future tense, I shall take tea becomes tea will be taken by me. Now, continuous tense, future, there is I shall be taking tea, but this form has no passive form because what will you write? There is nothing to write here. It shall be taken by me. Makes no sense, right? So let's move on to the perfect part. I shall have taken tea. The passive would be tea will have been taken by me. Tea will have been taken by me. So this is how we change the voice in assertive sentences. As you can see, these are all examples of assertive sentence, not interrogative, neither imperative, optative, or any other kind of sentence. So just limit our focus onto this. One thing is left, the modals. In active voice, I can take tea, or I may take tea, I must take tea, or I ought to take tea becomes tea can be taken by me, or tea may be taken by me. Tea must be taken by me, insisting, force. tea ought to be taken by me, which is a duty. It is my duty to do this, morally obliged, obligation. Anyway, so here we come to an end of a discussion, and as we end, we have already seen the basic conversion formulas, the table. We have witnessed how we are changing the uh, verb form depending on the various tenses they are in, from active to passive. We have also changed sentences using the formula from active to passive. And right now, we have completed these voice change of assertive sentences, assertive positive sentences. So here we end our discussion today. If you have any doubt, any queries, feel free to reach us, and we assure you that we will definitely get back to you with all the answers to your problems, so far as we know, right? Because, well, we are not Google. Till then, bye bye.